spacious backyard of the McAllister estate in Charleston. White silk tents, gold-rimmed plates, and rows of laughing relatives filled the air with cheer. At the center was Aaron, my younger brother, beaming in his cap and gown while guests toasted to his Ivy League graduation. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I stood quietly near the edge of the crowd, in a modest blue dress I'd borrowed from my friend Casey. I didn't wear heels. Couldn't afford them. Put her at the kids' table. She's still jobless, Aaron said with a smirk, his voice loud enough to hush 3 conversations around him. Laughter erupted. Someone actually snorted. I froze. Across the lawn, my mother, Lillian McAllister in her pearl-draped glory, barely blinked. She just sipped her wine and said, "Let's not ruin the celebration." They didn't even look at me. I tried to smile, like it didn't sting, like their words didn't cut deep into the already sore parts of me. I turned to head back toward the driveway, wondering why I'd even shown up. That's when I heard the cane crack. Grandfather's old oak cane slammed against the marble floor of the pool patio like thunder. Heads whipped around. Conversations died mid-sentence. "That's enough," he growled. His voice was gravel and steel, louder than I'd ever heard it. "She's the reason this party even exists." Silence. Even the waitstaff paused. Aaron blinked. "What?" My mother tilted her head. "Dad." "Quiet," Grandpa said. His name was Howard McAllister, decorated veteran, former CEO of McAllister and Black Holdings, and the only person who had ever looked at me like I wasn't invisible. "She paid off Aaron's final 2 semesters," Grandpa said slowly. "Every last dollar. From money she made working nights at a diner after she gave up graduate school to keep this damn family from going bankrupt when your father lost everything in that bad investment." Gasps. Sharp and collective. Aaron's face drained of color. "No, that's not." Grandpa continued. "Your celebration, your cake, that damn cap and gown you're wearing, was bought by her sacrifice." People started murmuring. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My throat locked. But Grandpa wasn't done. "And you dare mock her? In front of me?" Then he looked at me. "You never told them." I shook my head slowly. My voice was barely above a whisper. Didn't see the point, but now the entire point was burning in their faces. Aaron took a step back. My mother's wine glass tilted. She muttered something, then stumbled forward and tried to speak. But Grandpa raised his hand. "Save it, Lillian. You let your daughter carry this family in silence while you polished silver spoons and smiled for the neighbors." Then he turned to the guests. "You all want to clap for Aaron? Clap for her instead." That's when it happened. One by one, they started clapping. And Aaron, who moments ago had mocked me in front of 150 guests, fell to his knees. Literally. Out of shame. Or guilt. Or both. I just stood there, breathless. Every buried wound cracked open at once, then healed under the applause. But that was only the beginning. Because Grandpa wasn't done. Not by a long shot. He leaned closer to me and whispered, "It's time they know everything. About your father, the company, and the real reason I called this celebration." My stomach twisted. "Grandpa, what are you doing?" He smiled. "Giving you back what they took." The applause faded slowly, awkward and uneven. Some guests clapped out of politeness, others in guilt. Most just stared, trying to connect the woman they mocked a moment ago with the one their former CEO had just praised. Aaron was still on his knees. His fiancée, Mallory, knelt beside him whispering frantically, but he didn't seem to hear her. My mother, still gripping her wine glass, looked around like the world was tilting. "Howard," she said through clenched teeth, "what are you talking about? What company?" But Grandpa didn't answer her. Instead, he extended his hand toward me. "Come. There's something you need to read." I don't understand," I said, feeling my pulse crash through my ears. "You will." We left the guests stunned and stepped inside the mansion. The hallway smelled like fresh lilies and old money. He walked slowly, each step of his cane echoing against the marble tiles. I followed in silence until we reached his study, a room off-limits my entire childhood. He opened the thick oak door and motioned for me to enter. Stacks of files. A locked drawer. Framed medals on the wall. The scent of cigar smoke soaked into the leather armchairs. Grandpa sat down and pointed to the drawer. Unlock it. I hesitated. Why now? Because they turned your silence into shame, and I won't let them. My fingers trembled as I turned the key and opened the drawer. Inside were 2 manila folders and a sealed envelope with my name on it, Ava Lee McAllister, written in his shaky handwriting. I opened the first folder. It was a full legal transfer of company shares. 51% ownership of McAllister and Black Holdings, signed by my grandfather 6 months ago. I looked up, stunned. You made me majority owner? He nodded. I gave up the CEO's seat when I turned 78. But I didn't give it to your uncle like everyone assumed. I gave it to you, quietly, because you earned it. Tears stung my eyes. But I'm not. I never finished grad school. I work nights at. You have more grit in your pinky than the rest of this family combined, he said firmly. You gave up your future to save theirs. And they humiliated you for it. No more. I opened the second folder. This one hurt more. It was the truth about my father. My whole life, I thought he'd left us when I was 10. That he'd run off to avoid bankruptcy. That he'd abandoned us. But the folder said otherwise. He'd been forced out by my mother, with pressure from her parents, who blamed him for their diminishing status in society. She manipulated the board, blocked his access to legal counsel, and rewrote the narrative. Told me he left. Told everyone he vanished with someone else. I couldn't stop shaking. She made him the villain, Grandpa said. And you were too young to know better. I couldn't speak. My hands balled into fists, heart pounding in my ears. She used to, he added. But it ends today. The guests think they're here to celebrate Aaron's graduation. But the final hour of this event? That's yours. I blinked. Mine. He pulled a small remote from his desk drawer and clicked it. A hidden flat screen on the wall lit up. Live security footage of the backyard celebration. Then a voice came over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The MC was announcing an unexpected toast. Grandpa turned to me with the smallest smile. Your turn, Ava. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. But I'm not ready. You've been ready for years. I stepped toward the door, the weight of the folders in my hand, the fire in my chest. I didn't know what I was walking back into, only that I wasn't the same girl who'd walked away from the kids' table 30 minutes ago. As I stepped outside, all eyes turned. My mother's face tightened. Aaron looked like he wanted to vanish. I walked to the microphone slowly, confidently, and said, before we toast to Aaron, I think there's something you all deserve to know. I stood at the mic, throat tight, fingers trembling slightly over the note cards Grandpa had insisted I bring, though I hadn't thought I'd need them. The crowd, half drunk on champagne and gossip, leaned in like they were watching a scandal unfold on live TV. I took a deep breath. My name is Ava McAllister, I began. Some of you know me as Aaron's older sister. Some of you, maybe just as the jobless one at the kids' table. I paused just long enough to feel the tension ripple. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Aaron's fiancée stared at her shoes. I wasn't going to speak today. I thought it best to let my brother have his moment. But I've been silent for a long time, and someone reminded me that silence can let lies grow louder. Grandpa stood in the back, arms crossed, proud. My mother's face tightened like a noose. Aaron wouldn't even look at me. I dropped out of grad school 3 years ago. Not because I failed, but because my family was failing. Our accounts were frozen. Dad's business was collapsing. There was no money left for Aaron's tuition or for anything else. Gasps broke across the lawn like raindrops before a storm. So I left school, took 2 jobs, waitressed 6 nights a week, cleaned offices on weekends, and paid for Aaron's final 2 years of college. Quietly, without asking for thanks. I looked directly at Aaron. And you mocked me today. In front of everyone.
His face was white.
He looked like he wanted to crawl into the fountain and drown. But that's not the whole story. I raised the manila folder. 6 months ago, my grandfather named me majority shareholder of McAllister and Black Holdings. A loud, stunned murmur swept through the guests. I own 51% of this company. The very company that funds this party, this house, and this family name. Someone dropped their champagne glass. I looked at my mother. You told me I was selfish, that I didn't understand sacrifice. But it was you who used me, while sipping cocktails and hiding truths. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. And you told me Dad abandoned us, that he ran off. But the truth. I opened the second folder. You forced him out. You ruined him, and then fed me the lie that he disappeared. A sob caught in someone's throat behind me. I found him, by the way. He's living in Idaho now. Runs a small repair shop. He thought I hated him. My voice broke, but I swallowed it down. But now I know, and so does everyone else. Aaron finally stood up. Ava, please. I didn't know.
I swear.
I was just being stupid. I didn't mean it.
I stared at him.
It doesn't matter what you meant, Aaron. It matters what you said. How you treated me when you thought I had nothing. Then I turned back to the crowd. But don't worry. I'm not here to take anything from anyone. I didn't come to humiliate them. I came to take my seat. I walked straight past the kids' table, straight past the rows of snickering cousins, and sat at the head table, next to Grandpa. The staff didn't hesitate. One of the servers cleared the seat immediately and replaced the setting. Another refilled my glass like they'd been waiting for this moment. My mother looked like she'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Then Grandpa raised his glass.
To Ava.
The only reason this family still has a legacy, and the only one in this room who deserves to lead it forward. The crowd rose slowly but surely. They toasted to me. Even Aaron raised his glass, shame painted all over his face. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just looked at them all, finally, truly seen. But deep inside, something else was stirring. This wasn't just about revenge or reclaiming pride. It was about truth. It was about legacy. It was about finally becoming the woman I had buried under their expectations and insults. And the next morning, that truth would change even more. Because Grandpa hadn't told me everything yet. And what he had to show me would shake the ground beneath the entire McAllister empire. The party wound down like a deflated balloon. Laughter was quieter now. Conversations hushed. Eyes watched me differently. Not with pity, but with uncertainty. Respect, maybe. Or fear. Aaron didn't speak to me again that night. My mother left early. But Grandpa stayed by my side, his old hand firm on my shoulder like an anchor. Tomorrow, he whispered as guests trickled out, you'll meet me in the office. There's still one more truth to settle. I barely slept. The morning sun crept across Charleston's skyline as I pulled up to McAllister Tower, 11 floors of steel, stone, and arrogance. I hadn't stepped inside since I was a teenager, when Dad still took me for ice cream after board meetings. The receptionist stood as soon as I entered. Ms. McAllister, right this way. They're expecting you upstairs.
They.
On the top floor, Grandpa waited with 2 people I didn't recognize. A woman in her 50s, stern, precise. A man in his 40s, sharp suit, unreadable face. Legal counsel, Grandpa said. And the firm's estate executor. I blinked. Estate? He gestured toward the massive glass table. On it lay a leather folder, different from yesterday's files. Sit, Ava, he said softly. This is what I didn't reveal last night. I sank into the chair. Then he said the words that knocked the air clean from my lungs. I'm dying. The room spun slightly. No, I whispered. No, you're pancreatic. Stage 4. I've known for 5 months. His voice didn't tremble. I'm not afraid. But I am in a hurry. My heart cracked, piece by jagged piece. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to see you fight first. To speak up. To claim what was always yours. And you did. He slid the folder toward me. This is my final addendum, signed and witnessed. It names you not only as majority shareholder, but as executor of my estate, the McAllister estate. I swallowed hard. Grandpa leaned forward. I'm skipping your mother. I'm skipping Aaron. Skipping them all. Because they've spent their lives clinging to the name. But you built something when no one believed in you. But they'll contest it. They can try, the lawyer said. The paperwork is airtight. And Howard's health condition, documented. He made these decisions with full mental capacity. I opened the folder, each word weighing like gold bars in my hands. Real estate, offshore accounts, private trusts, McAllister Island. The McAllister name now tied to me. Everything will go public at the board meeting next week, Grandpa added. And after that, they'll have no choice but to face you. I felt the weight of it all. Years of shame, insults, mockery, start to flip, to shift in my favor. What do I do now? I asked quietly. You lead. With strength, yes, but with more heart than they ever showed. He stood slowly and reached into his pocket, pulled out a velvet box. This was your father's. The day your mother drove him out, he left it behind. Inside was a key, a small gold key. He built something before the family ever did, and he left it behind. Now it's yours. My voice cracked. A key to what? To the real legacy. The place your father built with his hands. The one we buried when we got rich and polished.
He paused.
It's still waiting, Ava. And so is he. I nodded, overwhelmed. But there was still one more storm to weather. Because my mother wasn't going to let this go. And her next move wouldn't be quiet. 3 days later, the McAllister boardroom was packed. All 12 board members. A few family members. And my mother, dressed in icy white, chin high, eyes colder than ever. She looked at me like I was trespassing. Too bad, I now owned the land. I walked in with the leather folder in hand, Grandpa beside me, his step slower, his face pale, but his presence? Still iron. The meeting began. Formal, controlled, until the lawyer cleared his throat and said, "We have one final agenda item, an estate transition announcement from Mr. Howard McAllister." My mother straightened, smiled, clasped her hands like she already won. Then Grandpa said calmly, "As of today, I officially pass control of McAllister and Black Holdings to Ava Lee McAllister." A beat of silence. Then chaos. My mother shot up. "What?" Erin's voice cracked. "That's not legal, she's not." "She is," the lawyer said. "Majority shareholder, executor, successor." "But she's jobless," my mother spat. "She's done nothing." I stood then, calm but firm. "I saved this family when you pretended everything was fine. I funded Erin's degree. I cleaned floors while you planned wine parties." My voice shook, but only with strength. "You laughed at me,
Mocked me.
told people I was worthless." She hissed, "You were never meant to lead." I stepped closer. "Maybe not, but I earned it. And now, I forgive you." She blinked. "What?" "I'm not here for revenge," I said. "I'm here to break the cycle." I turned to the board. "Starting today, I'm creating a family equity fund for the real contributors to this company. Not just those with the right last name."
Gasps.
Then murmurs of agreement. I looked back at my mother. "You won't be kicked out. But the games stop here." She sat down slowly, quiet, defeated. Later that day, I visited Dad. He opened the door to his little home in Idaho, eyes wide.
"Ava."
I held up the key Grandpa gave me. "Is this yours?" He nodded slowly, tears rising. I stepped forward. "I'm here to bring you home." He broke down, hugged me like he was holding time itself. And that's when I knew this was the real legacy. Not the wealth, not the name, but the truth, and the chance to rebuild it my way.